The results are in. Cover your eyes, Republicans. This is ugly. Millions of Americans casting their votes on Election Day. Big turnout in New York City. Biggest since 1969, by the way. And the Democrats racking up several major wins, including here in New York. Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani says he now has a mandate after beating former Governor Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. During his victory speech, he sent a message to President Trump.
This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
And across the river in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill declaring victory in the race for governor. The Democrat defeating Republican Jack Ciattarelli, despite President Trump's very strong endorsement.
And in Virginia, 2 more big wins for the left. Abigail Spanberger is now governor-elect after victory over Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. And Democrat Jay Jones, the one that sent the text messages, unseating Republican Jason Miyares for the state's attorney general spot.
This is stunning.
Despite Jones admitting to sending a series of text messages which showed him fantasizing about killing a Republican lawmaker and his children.
I apologize for interrupting you.
It's okay.
We've also got several results on down-ballot measures you probably missed. In Pennsylvania, Democratic justices maintaining their majority in the state's Supreme Court. And in California, passing Prop 50, which redraws the state's congressional maps heavily in the Democrats' favor. That's considered a big victory for Gavin Newsom.
Oh, boy. And then there's a few other races for mayor that we're still tracking, including Seattle and Minnesota, where socialist candidates Omar Fateh and Katie Wilson are both in races that are still too close to call.
That's the Mamdani of the Midwest.
Absolutely. Or the Ilhan Omar.
That big guy,
Yeah.
she mentored him.
Yep, that's right. And in Miami, the mayoral candidates advancing to a December runoff after neither reached the 50% threshold.
So President Trump reacting to it all last night on Truth Social, blaming Democratic victories on the government shutdown and the fact that he wasn't on the ballot.
So we have a lot to say, and we have a lot of ground to cover. The good news is we have 2 hours and 57 minutes left. So let's get right to CB Cotton live in New York City with the latest on Mamdani's win. CB.
Brian, Lawrence, Rachel, good morning. Yes, New York City Hall is set to get its youngest mayor in more than a century. Self-described Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani also becomes the Big Apple's first Muslim mayor. He received 50.4% of the vote, backed by more than 1 million voters. Cuomo called his own run, quote, the right fight to wage, coming in second. He had President Trump's last-minute endorsement and narrowed the gap in the final days, but it was not enough. Sliwa, in third, when accepting his defeat, said if socialism is implemented, quote, we will become the mayor-elect and his supporters' worst enemy. As for Mamdani, he's promising to double down on his platform.
I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Okay, guys, listen to this. According to some new Fox polling, around a quarter of New York City voters would describe themselves as Democratic Socialist. Among Democrats, that number jumps to nearly 4 in 10. By wide margins, these voters back the self-described Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, who was slated to be sworn in on January 1st of next year. Back to you.
Thanks, CB.
Yeah, so this is, it's pretty amazing. I'd love to cover the New York Post. The Red Apple, on your marks, MRX, get set, ZO. Socialist Mamdani wins race for mayor, and he wins pretty easily. You know, you have Curtis Sliwa did worse than anyone thought, 7%. But if you put that with Cuomo, in theory, it would have been a lot closer. But Governor Cuomo was far away. He ran as a Democrat. What's so interesting, he just says, I'm a socialist, means he doesn't like billionaires either. And he also says, I'm a Muslim. Okay. but he also voted on the socialist line. He was listed on 2 lines, the Democratic line and the socialist line. He proudly says, I clicked the socialist line. He came out, instead of saying, hey, guys, whoever didn't vote for me like Spanberger, I'm going to represent all of you. He basically said, screw you, I'm doing my own thing. Look at me now.
You know, he's in, and I think what you're seeing here is the new face of the Democrat Party. I know people are saying there's going to be a big debate about who they're going to be. No, this is who they are, and you can see the trajectory. Do you remember when Mitt Romney was running against, back in the day, you felt like it was the old Republican Party, right? It just felt old, and then this new thing came in with Trump, and you knew that this was the way the Republican Party, and now it's fully MAGA, right? Mm-hmm. You saw Barack Obama toying with socialism, kind of saying, no, I'm not a socialist, just spread the wealth. And then you saw AOC come in and she started taking the mask off. And now you have a socialist, I refuse to call him socialist, he's really a communist, and he's quoting Marxist people inside of his speech. This is the future of their party, and I have always said, it's really about us adults. If you are not talking to your kids about socialism, somebody else is. And clearly, young people, if you look at these poll numbers, voted in huge majorities for Zoran Mamdani.
I want to pick up where you left off, but I'm going to go to Mark Penn first. This is what he puts in a new op-ed. Democrats win the moment, but the left wing tilts threaten their future. I just think, and this is what he later on says, the big issue now for the Democratic Party is how far left it will drift under the influence of democratic socialists. Gaining ground within the party and being accepted by much of its leadership, Mamdani will likely prove a gift to Republicans, and the 2028 presidential primaries could become a defining battle for the direction of the Democratic Party. Still, socialists often begin with promises of free goods and services, only to see the ideas later collapse. Mm-hmm. And I just think at its core, I mean, we're focusing on the next presidential election. We really got to focus on now. I think it's quite embarrassing that someone that's only been an American for, 6 or 7 years, he got a citizen, was able to capture a large demographic. You can blame Sliwa all you want, but if you take that proportion away, he still gets 50% of the electorate. When you look at the younger demographics, he was able to capture their minds. When you look at 30s to 40-year-olds, he captured them as well. And so I think, we can cry on this day, or we can have a self-reflection moment and try to figure out how we get that next generation to believe in capitalism. I didn't hear anybody talk about capitalism in the last president. Cuomo came on our show and it was an embarrassment yesterday. Didn't talk about a future, didn't really make the pitch to Republican voters. When you have candidates like that going against the socialists, I think it was pretty clear for a lot of people in there. They chose the person that was going to give them free stuff when they're suffering right now.
Yeah, I mean, what you're also referring to is what Mark Penn's also referring to is the civil war that's about to take place on the left. So the biggest crowds with Bernie, AOC, Mamdani, they're going to be the rock stars. And they're going to say, well, Spanberger's a moderate and Shapiro's a moderate and Bashir's a moderate. That's the future. Well, they usually their volume's a little bit lower, the charisma is a little bit lower, and most of the money has been flowing to AOC and Bernie. So Vivek Ramaswamy, who wants to be the next governor of Ohio, he says he wants the GOP to have a reality check. He says you have to focus on what Mamdani said, not what he did or is about to do. Mm-hmm. He focused on affordability. He said, quote, bring down the cost, end identity politics. Okay, here's more.
We got handed to us in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. Democrats swept all 3. There's 2 key lessons for Republicans. Listen carefully. Number 1, our side needs to focus on affordability. Make the American dream affordable. Bring down costs, electric costs, grocery costs, healthcare costs, and housing costs, and lay out how we're going to do it. And number 2, cut out the identity politics. It doesn't suit Republicans. It's not for us. That's the woke left's game, not ours. We don't care about the color of your skin or your religion. We care about the content of your character. That's who we are.
I'm not sure what he refers to about identity politics, but I will say this. The president's been in business 9 months. The big, beautiful bill was nothing's been implemented on it. That's his economic program. He put all into one. So he's pulling the rubber band back. He has not let go of it yet. So if he's going to bring down the costs, we're not going to know until January when his budget gets into play. The tax cuts come in. The tax incentives go into play. And that's when the energy, and you'll start seeing what we're doing with energy on natural gas and oil and everything. That will bring down utility costs. In theory, if the big, beautiful bill doesn't produce, there's going to be an ugly midterm. If it starts producing, things will work themselves out.
Is it possible that Mamdani, first of all, let's be honest, as you said, he won on costs. He talked about the affordability of, and this is a very expensive city to live in. Especially if you're a young person. It always has been. He started off on TikTok. He started doing funny little trends. He started getting their attention. So that's some of the lessons that we're learning, that you have to engage people. We also shouldn't lose hope. We're seeing mega arenas filled with young people going to these turning point events. So let's not pretend like all is lost. But we should talk about what he did right. And moving forward, what should happen with the Republican Party? They need to address housing costs. They need to address the fact that we have, these huge investment firms, these, venture capitalists who are buying up, BlackRock buying up houses and making it harder for young people to buy.
Issue.
It's a big issue, and we should be on top of it.
60 Minutes did that 2 years ago. I had no idea. They're buying out people, giving a good price for their homes, and they're taking control of it and making the country a bunch of renters.
Right.
And with no option to buy.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.